Good morning, everyone. It's been a very interesting morning here as I've been looking through some files on my computer and looking through old journals where I've written stories. I am gathering more information because I'm writing a book, actually a book that's been in progress in various stages for a couple of years now, but it's primarily about my healing journey, my spiritual journey in Europe, and some of the relationships that have been in my life that contributed to that, particularly my grandparents. And in looking back at all of this, I've had a tremendous amount of interesting experiences that a lot of researchers in the genealogy and military community may have but don't talk about. And with my new Ancestral Souls Wisdom School, this is one of the topics that we are going to talk about. Because what I've realized is when we have these experiences and we don't understand what they are, maybe they're triggering something in us, maybe we feel some kind of yucky energy someplace we are, maybe we are visiting a cemetery and we feel something with the grave that we are visiting, or just anything that's out of our normal reality, sometimes we don't know what to do with that. And again, it can be a little bit scary depending on how it is showing up. So these are things that we're going to be talking about at the Ancestral Souls Wisdom School. But as I'm going through my files this morning, I came upon something I wrote about a service member from the Army who is buried as an unknown at Margraten in the Netherlands. This is the World War II Netherlands American Cemetery. And my first visit to this unknown was in the fall of 2016. And I was visiting the cemetery with someone. And when he was near the grave, he's like, wow, you really have to come and check this out. And I did. And the energy I was picking up, there was a lot of anger and there was a lot of pain and just confusion of why this soldier was still there in an unknown grave. And I went to the office and asked for the X file number for this unknown. Now, if you're not familiar with military records or these burial files, for World War II, Korea, Vietnam, there's a death file called the Individual Deceased Personnel File, or IDPF. This IDPF is for someone who's been identified. There's a serial number or service number, doesn't matter the branch, they're all very similar in content and forms. And for service members that are not able to be identified by graves registration, they're given an X number in place of this service number or serial number. So it's called an X file. Normally, when someone is identified, the X file is merged with the IDPF. So you get both files. There have been cases where there are questionable identifications and the X file paperwork just isn't there. Magically gone. So when it has been my experience since 2010 that when a service member wants me to know something or wants a client to know something or has something to teach or tell, they will make it very easy for me to get the records that I need. So that afternoon, I did contact a friend in the States and said, hey, do you know anybody that might have access to this X file? And within a few hours, I had it. Now, reading this X file, the identification was almost made by graves registration, except for one tooth. Okay, one tooth. Now, I've seen IDPFs and X files for airmen that were burned to a crisp, no personal effects, nothing on them or around them that could have been used to identify them. And we didn't have DNA back then, so that was not an option. They have an identification. But this Army soldier at the cemetery was not identified because of one tooth. And the Graves Registration Service felt that they had a case that it was a soldier named John Gordon. So I was able to get his IDPF, again, fairly quickly. John actually lived about 30, 40 minutes from where I currently live in the Chicago suburbs. So he was reaching out and hoping somebody would be able to help him. I did a little energy healing for him while I was still there. And then, I got the files and I went, while I was in the Netherlands at the time, went back to my home in the Netherlands and did some research. and started looking on Find a Grave and some other places to try and find a family member. And I found a cousin who said that they had been in contact with DPAA, the Missing in Action and Recovery Government Agency, and someone in the family he thought had given DNA, so that if a strong enough case could be made to DPAA to go and disinter this unknown out of Margraten, which they disinter out of all the ABMC cemeteries, especially when they have a case. So there are a lot of now unknown graves that are empty because they've been identified and brought back to the States, that maybe DPAA would disinter him. But the cousin said he'd spoken to a family member, closer family member of John Gordon, and nothing had been done. So John still sleeps at Margraten. I was back there in 2018 to visit him again, and at that time I was with a couple of other people, one who was connected in the spiritual world in a little bit different way, and he channeled a lot of things about John, some of his hobbies and different things, and that was interesting. And John was less angry to be there, but he's still not happy that he's there. Also on that trip, that was a very interesting trip in 2018. I was there for the Memorial Day service, and I was supposed to lay a wreath at the service on Sunday for a foundation, for someone asked me to lay a wreath. And the day before, we had come to lay flowers on this man's adoption graves. Only that day, after we laid the flowers, I just felt uneasy in the cemetery. And never, since I've been visiting ABMC cemetery since 2015, have I ever felt uncomfortable or unwelcome by the dead that are there. It has always been a very peaceful place for me, even though there are service members there that are just, their energy is so angry and upset and sad and everything else. For the most part, it's peaceful. But that day, it just wasn't. And I really had to sit and ground my energy and just kind of look out with my third eye and observe what is going on here that is so different. And so I wrote an article on my website about it. If you go to the Ancestral Souls Wisdom School, the link is in the bio, or maybe if you're watching this on Facebook, the link for the article will be with this video. You can read the article. And then I did link to some other things that I wrote about John in 2016 and 2018, if you want to take a look at that. So it required me to do some energy healing of the place, of the cemetery grounds. And once I did that, the energy shifted, because I was not sure before I did that I could come back the next day for the Memorial Day service. It was just making me feel sick. But once I did the clearing, everything shifted. So again, one of the things that I think many of us who research experience are these kinds of things that we feel when we're in a certain place, especially battlefields and cemeteries, but we don't talk about it. And a lot of people don't know how they can help contribute to clearing that energy. And one of the things I think that's important to know is, as I'm sitting there with my third eye, looking out over the cemetery, I saw a lot of dark forces, and I was able to send them to the light. And I saw a lot of soldiers gathered around graves, remembering their buddies. And of course, they're all spirits at this point. Some of them just needed to be told, hey, it's okay that you leave. You can go into the light. Some of them did, and some of them weren't ready. But their energy was very calm. And it's all free choice. We all have free choice, even when we've gone. Do we stay? Do we go? Do we have unfinished business? So if you have been in any of these places, or you have experienced any of this throughout your research, genealogical or military, because I've had experiences both in civilian cemeteries with my ancestors and other people, and military cemeteries, battlefields, everywhere, I invite you to start talking about it. Come and explore the Ancestral Souls Wisdom School and the cafe membership program and these other things that I'm creating, because I am building a community where we can talk about this and we can share the different tools that we use to help each of us contribute to the change on the planet. So if you're interested, the link for everything is in the bio. Take a look. And please feel free to reach out, share your story if you'd like. You can always email me at jennifer@ancestralsouls.com and share your story. I'd love to hear it. And I wish you all a beautiful day and invite you just to tap into the gifts that each of you has. Bye.